champs of Examsnet, welcome to the question series of Examsnet. I hope this series of detailed explanation is helping you a lot. So in today's session we are going to discuss NEET 2014 biology paper and we are 90 questions here. So let's start the session. The first question is from the chapter Plant Kingdom and the question is, which one of the following shows isogamy with non-flagellated gametes? Options are Sargassum, Ectocarpus, Eulothrix and Spirogyra. So the correct answer is option D, that is Spirogyra. And as we know that Spirogyra is an example of green algae, that is chlorophyceae. Okay, chlorophyceae. Now the sexual reproduction that takes place in Spirogyra is known as conjugation. Conjugation. It is the sexual reproduction. Now what type of gametes are involved in the sexual reproduction in case of Spirogyra? The gametes are non-flagellated, that is non-motile. Okay, non-flagellated, that is non-motile, and these are morphologically similar. Morphologically similar. That means they are similar in size. Similar in size. That is why the term isogamy is used. Isogamy means the gametes are similar in size. Okay, but they are physiologically dissimilar. Physiologically dissimilar. That is why the correct answer will be option number D, Spirogyra, because it shows isogamy with non-flagellated gametes. Question number 2 is from the chapter Biological Classification and the question is, 5-kingdom system of classification suggested by R.H. Whittaker is not based on option A, presence or absence of a well-defined nucleus, option B, mode of reproduction, option C, mode of nutrition, and option D, complexity of body organization. Okay, so let's see. We know that R.H. Whittaker had given the 5-kingdom classification and used 5 criteria. Okay, so he used 5 criteria. 5 criteria for delimiting the kingdoms. Delimiting kingdoms. Now let's see what are the 5 criteria. So the first one is complexity of cell structure. Complexity of cell structure. Then second is complexity of body structure. Third is mode of nutrition. Mode of nutrition. Fourth is ecological life cycle. Ecological life cycle, including the mode of reproduction. Okay, including the mode of reproduction. And the last one was phylogenetic relationship, and this was the most important one. Okay, phylogenetic relationship, that means the evolutionary relationship. Okay, so as we can see that mode of nutrition is present, mode of reproduction, mode of nutrition, and complexity of body organization. These things were considered. So the only option that will not be the basis of criteria used by R.H. Whittaker will be presence or absence of a well-defined nucleus. So option A will be the correct answer. Question number 3 is from the chapter Biological Classification again, and the question is, which one of the following fungi contains hallucinogens? Options are Morchella, Esculenta, Amanita muscaria, Neurospora and Astilaja. So the correct answer is option B, that is Amanita muscaria. Okay, so it is a fungus that belongs to the class Basidiomycetes. Basidiomycetes. Now the chemical that is responsible for the hallucinogenic property is known as mucimol. Okay, mucimol. But the precursor of mucimol is ibotenic acid. So this fungus produces ibotenic acid, which undergoes decarboxylation. Okay, it undergoes decarboxylation to produce the mucimol. And this is the main chemical that is responsible for the hallucinogenic property. Okay, hallucinogenic property. Now this is able to affect different parts of the brains. For example, it affects hippocampus, hippocampus, cerebellum, cerebellum, and cerebral cortex as well. Cerebral cortex. And it also has an ability to produce euphoria. Ability to produce euphoria. What is euphoria? It is an elated state of mind. An elated state of mind. You feel very energetic. And body. Okay, so which option is the correct one? Option number B, Amanita muscaria. Question number 4 is again from the chapter Biological Classification, and the question is, Archaeobacteria differ from eubacteria in option A, cell membrane structure, option B, mode of nutrition, option C, cell shape, and option D, mode of reproduction. Okay, so as we know that Archaeobacteria are considered as the primitive form of bacteria, right? Primitive bacteria. So what is their specialization? They have a different type of cell wall structure. Different cell wall structure. So unlike the eubacteria, they do not have peptidoglycan in their cell wall, but their cell wall is so resistant that it makes their survival very easy in extreme kind of environments. Okay, so this special type of cell wall is responsible for their survival in extreme environmental conditions. Extreme environments. Okay, for example, salty areas. So the bacteria that are able to thrive in the salty areas are known as halophiles. Similarly, the bacteria that are able to survive in hot springs are known as thermoacidophiles. Okay, so these are the examples of archaeobacteria only, right? Now, other than the cell wall structure, they also have a different membrane lipid bond. Different membrane lipid bond as compared to the eubacteria. Okay, as compared to eubacteria. So what type of membrane lipid bond do the archaeobacteria have? They have the ether bonds. Okay, so these have ether bonds, whereas the eubacteria have ester linked lipids, ester linked lipids. So in the option, cell wall structure is not mentioned. So we'll choose cell membrane structure. Okay, because both of them are different in archaeobacteria and eubacteria. Other things are common between the archaeobacteria and eubacteria. Okay, so option A will be the correct answer. Question number 5 is from the chapter Plant Kingdom, and the question is, which one of the following is wrong about Cara? Okay, so what is Cara? Cara is a multicellular green algae. Okay, multicellular green algae. So before we look at the options, let's know some facts about the Cara. Okay, so we know that in case of Cara, the sexual reproduction is of oogamous type. Okay, sexual reproduction is oogamous type. It means what? That one small motile gamete is involved and the other is large and non-motile gamete. Okay. Now, in case of Kara, the male sex organ is known as antheridium or globule, whereas female sex organ is known as oogonium or nucule. Now this antheridium or the male sex organ is spherical in shape and yellow in color. Okay, spherical and yellow. And the oogonium is oval shaped and green in color. Right. Now, what is important to note that the Kara, most of the species of Kara are monoecious in nature. Okay, monoecious. That means the male and female are present on the same plant. Male and female sex organs are present on the same plant. Now, arrangement of these male and female sex organs is such that the male sex organ is located below the female sex organs. Okay, so the female sex organ, that means oogonium or the nucule, is present on the upper part, whereas the male sex organ, that is antheridium or globule, is present on the lower part. Okay. Now let's look at the options. The first option says upper oogonium and lower round antheridium. So this is correct. We have seen that oogonium is present on the upper part and antheridium on the lower part. Okay. Then the second option is globule and nucule. That means the male and female sex organs present on the same plant. This is also correct. Third option says upper antheridium and lower oogonium, which is incorrect. We have seen that oogonium is present on the upper part and antheridium on the lower part. So option C is incorrect. And the last option says globule, that means male reproductive structure. Okay, so globule is the male reproductive structure. That is also correct. And nucule is the female reproductive structure. Okay, so the only wrong statement is statement C. So option C will be the correct answer. Now question number 6 is again from the chapter Plant Kingdom, and the question is, which of the following is responsible for peat formation? Options are Mercantia, Rixia, Funaria and Sphagnum. So it's very simple. The correct answer is Sphagnum. Okay. So Sphagnum is an example of moss and it provides peat that have long been used as fuel. Okay. So the correct answer will be option number D. Question number 7 is from the chapter Sexual Reproduction in Flowering Plants, and the question is, placenta and pericarp are both edible portions in. Options are apple, banana, tomato and potato. So the correct answer is option C, that is tomato. Okay, tomato is a berry fruit. It is a berry fruit. Now, in tomato, the placenta and pericarp are both edible portions. Okay, so the placenta supplies nutrition for the embryo, whereas the pericarp is the remains of the ovular wall. Okay, ovular wall, and both are edible portions. So the correct answer will be option number C. Question number 8 is from the chapter Morphology of Flowering Plants, and the question is, when the margins of sepals or petals overlap one another without any particular direction, the condition is termed as. Options are vexillary, imbricate, twisted or valvate. Okay, so basically the question is about the aestivation. And what is aestivation? It is the mode of arrangement of sepals or petals. Okay, mode of arrangement of sepals or petals in a floral bud. In a floral bud. So mainly there are four types of aestivation. The first type is valvate, in which there is no overlapping. Okay, so no overlapping is seen. Overlapping in case of valvate aestivation. So it will look like this. Suppose these are sepals or petals. So as you can see that these are not overlapping each other. Okay, and this type of aestivation is present in the calotropis. Okay, so the example for valvate aestivation will be calotropis. Then the second type is twisted aestivation. Twisted aestivation. In this type of aestivation, there is overlapping but in a particular direction. So overlapping is present in a particular direction. In a particular direction. So suppose these are sepals or petals. So as you can see, there is overlapping in a particular sequence, right? Like this. So the example for twisted aestivation will be your China rose or cotton. Let's write it down here. China rose, cotton, and lady's finger. So these are the example mentioned in the NCERT. Third type of aestivation is imbricate aestivation that the question is asked about. So in case of imbricate aestivation also there is overlapping, but there is no particular direction in this case. Okay, so overlapping without any particular direction. Without any particular direction. So how will it look like? It will look something like this. Suppose you can see there is overlapping, but there is no particular direction for this. Okay, so the correct answer will be option number B, imbricate aestivation. Here there is overlapping without any particular direction. And what will be the example of imbricate aestivation? Cassia and gulmohar. Okay, cassia and gulmohar. Let's have a look at the last option, the last type of aestivation as well, that is vexillary aestivation. In case of vexillary aestivation, what happens? There is a largest petal or a largest sepal. Okay, so the largest or the standard one overlaps two lateral petals, which in turn, that means these two lateral petals will again overlap the smallest petals. Okay, overlap smallest one. So according to this question, the correct answer will be option number B, imbricate aestivation. Question number 9 is from the chapter Anatomy of Flowering Plants, and the question is, you are given a fairly old piece of dicot stem and dicot root. Which of the following anatomical structures will you use to distinguish between the two? Options are secondary xylem, secondary phloem, protoxylem, and cortical cells. Okay, so one of the most notable difference between the dicot stem and the dicot root is the protoxylem. Okay, so what is protoxylem? The xylem that is formed first. Okay, and metaxylem is formed later. Okay, that means after protoxylem. Now what happens in case of dicot stem? In case of dicot stem, the protoxylem is present on the inner part. Okay, so it lies towards the center, lies towards the center, that means the inner part. Okay, whereas the metaxylem lies towards the periphery, lies towards the periphery of the organ. Okay, and this type of arrangement is known as end-dark arrangement. Whereas if we talk about the dicot root, the case is just the opposite. Okay, that means in case of dicot root, the protoxylem lies towards the periphery, whereas the metaxylem lies towards the center. Okay, and this type of arrangement is known as exarch arrangement. So as we can see that we can distinguish between the dicot stem and dicot root on the basis of the positions of protoxylem and metaxylem both. But since here metaxylem is not mentioned, only protoxylem is mentioned. So option C will be the correct answer. Question number 10 is again from the chapter Morphology of Flowering Plants, and the question is which one of the following statements is correct? Okay, so let's see. The first statement says the seed in grasses is not endospermic, which is an incorrect statement because the seeds in grasses are endospermic. Okay, endospermic. The second statement says mango is a parthenocarpic fruit. This is also an incorrect statement. Parthenocarpic fruits are developed without fertilization, right? So there is no seed in case of parthenocarpic fruit, but we know that mango is a seeded fruit. It is a seeded fruit. It contains seed. So it is not a parthenocarpic fruit. Then the third statement says a proteinaceous alluron layer is present in maize grain. This is a correct statement. Okay. Last statement says a sterile pistil is called a staminode, which is again incorrect because we know that a sterile stamen is known as staminode. Okay. Not pistil. So the only correct statement is the third one. So option C will be the correct answer. Question number 11 is from the chapter Anatomy of Flowering Plants, and the question is tracheids differ from tracheary elements in options are having Casparian strips, being imperforate, lacking nucleus and being lignified. Okay, so tracheids are a type of tracheary elements only. Okay, these tracheary elements are of different types. One is tracheids and the other is vessels. Okay, but tracheids differ from other type of tracheary elements, that is vessels, because tracheids have imperforated walls. Okay, they have imperforated walls. Now the main functions of the tracheary elements, that is tracheids and vessels, is the ascent of sap. Okay, the function is ascent of sap. Now since the tracheids have imperforated walls, therefore they are able to keep the sap for a longer duration of time. Okay, keep the sap for longer duration as compared to other tracheary elements. Okay, so the correct answer will be option number B, being imperforate. Okay, tracheids differ from other tracheary elements in being imperforate. Okay, option B. Question number 12 is from the chapter Morphology of Flowering Plants, and the question is an example of edible underground stem is options are carrot, groundnut, sweet potato and potato. Okay, so the correct answer will be option number D, that is potato. It is an example of edible underground stem, whereas the carrot and sweet potato are the examples of edible underground root. Okay, so option number D is the correct answer. Question number 13 is from the chapter Cell, and the question is which structures perform the function of mitochondria in bacteria? Options are nucleoid, ribosomes, cell wall and mesosomes. So we know that bacteria are the examples of prokaryotes, that means they lack mitochondria and other organelles, right? So the main function of mitochondria, that is respiration, is performed with the help of mesosomes. Okay, mesosomes. Other than respiration, the mesosomes also help in the secretion process, then to increase the surface area of the plasma membrane and the enzymatic contact. So all these are performed with the help of mesosomes in case of bacteria. So option D, mesosomes, will be the correct answer. Question number 14 is again from the chapter Cell, and the question is the solid linear cytoskeletal elements having a diameter of 6 nanometer and made up of a single type of monomer are known as. Options are microtubules, microfilaments, intermediate filaments and lamins, and the correct answer will be microfilaments. Okay, so what are microfilaments? These are the ultra microscopic, long, narrow, cylindrical and solid rods. Solid rods or protein filaments, mainly actin filament. Okay, actin filament with approximately 6 to 8 nanometer diameter. Okay, therefore option number B is the correct answer. Question number 15 is from the chapter Cell, and the question is, the osmotic expansion of a cell kept in water is chiefly regulated by. Options are mitochondria, vacuoles, plastids and ribosomes. Okay, so the correct answer will be option number B, that is vacuoles. Vacuoles, as we know, are the membrane bound space found in the cytoplasm. Okay, and when the cell is kept in water, then this vacuole is responsible for the osmotic expansion of the cell. Okay, we already know the function of other organelles mentioned here. Mitochondria is involved in the respiration. Plastids are of three types: chloroplast, chromoplast and leucoplast. So when we talk about the chloroplast, it is responsible for the photosynthesis in plants. Okay, chloroplast and chromoplast both are pigment containing plastids. Okay, so these give characteristic color to the plants. Okay, characteristic color to the plant. Now ribosome is involved in the protein synthesis. So according to the question, the correct answer is option number B, vacuoles. Question number 16 is from the chapter Cell Cycle and Cell Division, and the question is, during which phase of the cell cycle amount of DNA in a cell remains at 4C level if the initial amount is denoted as 2C. Options are G0 and G1, G1 and S, only G2 and G2 and M. Okay, so we know that the DNA replication takes place during the S phase. Okay, DNA replication takes place during the S phase of the cell cycle. Okay, S phase means synthesis phase. Before the S phase, there is G1 phase, and after S phase, there is G2 phase. Okay, these two are growth phases. Now, if the initial amount is 2C, that means the amount of DNA at G1 is 2C, then during S phase, what will happen? It will increase from 2C to 4C. That means the amount of DNA will get doubled during the S phase. It will not remain 4C. It will increase from 2C to 4C. Okay. Whereas at G2 phase, we'll see that the amount of DNA is 4C. Okay. Now after G2 phase, M phase comes. That means the mitosis phase or meiosis phase. Okay. This is the phase of cell division. So in this case, if the type of cell division is mitosis, okay, then the cell will divide into two. Okay, and each cell will have 2C amount of DNA. Okay, whereas if the type of division is meiosis, then 4 haploid cells will be obtained. Okay, and each cell will have the 1C amount of DNA. Got it? So the phase during which the amount of DNA remains 4C is only G2 phase. Okay, so option number C, only G2 will be the correct answer. Question number 17 is from the chapter Cell, and the question is, match the following and select the correct answer. So the first one is centriole, and we know that centrioles form the basal body of cilia and flagella. Okay, so the correct match for A will be number 4. Then the second one is chlorophyll. So chlorophyll are present in the thylakoids of the chloroplast. So this is already matched here. The correct match for B will be number 2. Third one is cristae. What are cristae? These are the infoldings in the mitochondria. So the correct match for C will be number 1. And the last one is ribozymes. So what are ribozymes? These are catalytically active RNA molecules. Okay, these are, let's write it down here, catalytically active RNA molecules or RNA protein complexes. RNA protein complexes in which the RNA plays the catalytic role. Okay, so nucleic acid, RNA, that means ribonucleic acid. So the correct match for ribozymes will be nucleic acid, that is number 3. So the correct match for D is number 3. So which is the correct answer? A 4, then B 2, C 1 and D 3. Option number A is the correct answer. Question number 18 is from the chapter Plant Growth and Development, and the question is, Dr. F. Wendt noted that if coleoptile tips were removed and placed on agar for 1 hour, the agar would produce a bending when placed on one side of freshly cut coleoptile stumps. Of what significance is this experiment? Option A, it made possible the isolation and exact identification of auxin. Option B, it is the basis for quantitative determination of small amounts of growth promoting substances. Option C, it supports the hypothesis that indole 3-acetic acid is auxin. And option D, it demonstrated polar movements of auxins. Okay. So out of the various bioassays related to auxins, one of the bioassays was performed by Dr. F. Wendt, and that was known as Avena coleoptile test. Okay, Avena coleoptile test, and it was done for indole 3-acetic acid, that is IAA. Okay, now in this, the tip of the Avena was removed. Okay, suppose this is the tip portion, so it was cut and removed from here. Okay, so the tips of Avena coleoptile was removed. Then this tip portion was placed on the agar block. Okay, this is the agar block. Here the tip is kept. Okay, placed on agar block. Now when it was placed on the agar block, then what happened? The auxin from the tip diffused into the agar block. Okay, so suppose this shaded portion shows the auxins that has been diffused from the tip to the agar block. So auxin diffuses into the agar block. Now the agar block has the auxin hormone in it. Okay, now when this agar was kept on the remaining part of the Avena coleoptile, that is the stump part. Okay, so the tip was removed. This is the stump part. Okay, here the agar was placed on one side. Okay, agar block was kept on one side. So agar block placed asymmetrically on the cut coleoptile stump. As a result, what happened? The coleoptile showed a typical curvature. Okay, it became curved like this. Okay, this side the agar block was kept and it moved like this. A typical curvature was shown by the coleoptile. Okay, and it was basically due to the polar movement of auxins. Therefore, the correct answer will be option number D, that it demonstrated polar movements of auxins. Okay. Question number 19 is from the chapter Mineral Nutrition, and the question is, deficiency symptoms of nitrogen and potassium are visible first in. Options are senescent leaves, young leaves, roots and buds. So we know that nitrogen and potassium are the mobile elements. Okay, these are mobile elements. Therefore, these are mobilized to the younger leaves, mobilized towards the younger leaves. So obviously the deficiency symptoms of these elements will be visible in the senescent leaves because they have been moved from the senescent leaves to the young leaves. Got it? And what will be the deficiency symptoms? So if we talk about the nitrogen deficiency, so due to the nitrogen deficiency, there will be poor plant growth, poor plant growth. Then the leaves will become pale green or yellow in color, pale green or yellow leaves, because they will be unable to form sufficient chlorophyll. Okay, so it will be due to the lack of chlorophyll, lack of chlorophyll. Okay, now if we talk about the potassium deficiency, so under the potassium stress condition, yellowing of leaf will start from the tips or the margin of the leaves extending towards the center of the leaf base. Okay, so basically it will result in the yellowing of the leaves, yellowing of leaves, and these yellow parts will become necrotic. Okay, so it will lead to necrosis. That means dead spots, dead spots along with the leaf curling, leaf curling. Okay, so these are the deficiency symptoms of nitrogen and potassium, and the correct answer is option number A, senescent leaves. Question number 20 is from the chapter Respiration in Plants, and the question is, in which one of the following processes carbon dioxide is not released? Options are aerobic respiration in plants, aerobic respiration in animals, alcoholic fermentation, and lactate fermentation. Okay, so if we talk about the aerobic respiration, whether in plants or animals, in both the cases oxygen is utilized, and what happens, the respiratory substrate is converted or is oxidized into carbon dioxide and water along with the production of ATP. Now in case of alcoholic fermentation, which is an anaerobic respiration, in this case the respiratory substrate is converted into carbon dioxide and alcohol, not water, okay, along with the production of ATP. And in case of lactate fermentation, which is again an anaerobic respiration, in this case, the respiratory substrate is converted into lactate along with the production of ATP. So there is no production of carbon dioxide in this case, and lactate fermentation takes place in the muscles, during strenuous activity or during strenuous physical work. Okay. So option D, lactate fermentation, will be the correct answer. Question number 21 is from the chapter Photosynthesis, and the question is, anoxygenic photosynthesis is characteristic of. Options are Rhodospirillum, Spirogyra, Chlamydomonas, and Alba. So what is anoxygenic photosynthesis? Let's write it down here. Anoxygenic photosynthesis. So this is a type of photosynthesis or the phototropic process. Let's write it down here. The phototropic process where light energy is captured and converted into ATP. Okay, converted to ATP without the production of oxygen. Okay, without the production of oxygen. So in normal photosynthesis, what happens? Oxygen is produced, but in case of anoxygenic, so from the name itself it is clear that there is no oxygen. Okay, no production of oxygen in this case. And the most important thing is here is that water is not used as the electron donor. Okay, water is not used as the electron donor. So out of the given options, in case of rhodospirillum, the electron donor is an organic compound, not water. Therefore, what type of photosynthesis takes place? Anoxygenic photosynthesis. Option number A will be the correct answer. Question number 22 can also be related to photosynthesis, and the question is, a few normal seedling of tomato were kept in a dark room. After a few days they were found to have become white colored like albions. Which of the following terms will you use to describe them? Options are mutated, embolized, etiolated and defoliated. Okay, so basically what happened after the tomato was kept in dark room, the seedling of tomato was kept in dark room, it became white color. That means it got decolorized. Okay, so we can say that depigmentation took place. Okay, depigmentation, and we know that depigmentation in the leaf when the plants are kept in dark, when the plants are kept in dark for more than 36 hours, for more than 36 hours, when such depigmentation take place, this is known as etiolation. Etiolation. Okay, so we can say that the normal seedlings of the tomato that turned white color were etiolated. Okay, so option C will be the correct answer. Question number 23 is from the chapter Plant Growth and Development, and the question is, which one of the following growth regulators is known as stress hormone? Options are abscisic acid, ethylene, gibberellic acid and indole 3 acetic acid. Okay, so the correct answer will be option A, that is abscisic acid. It is known as the stress hormone because it is found to induce various types of responses in plants against the stress condition. Okay, against stress conditions such as the closure of stomata, then during drought, seed dormancy, and it also ensures the germination of seed. Okay, it ensures the germination of seeds during the favorable conditions. Okay, during favorable conditions. So option number A, abscisic acid, will be the correct answer. Question number 24 is from the chapter Sexual Reproduction in Flowering Plants, and the question is, Geitonogamy involves option A, fertilization of a flower by the pollen from another flower of the same plant. Option B, fertilization of a flower by the pollen from same flower. Option C, fertilization of a flower by pollen from a flower of another plant in the same population. And option D, fertilization of a flower by the pollen from a flower of another plant belonging to a distant population. So the correct answer will be option number A, fertilization of a flower by the pollen from another flower of the same plant. Okay, so in case of Geitonogamy, the transfer of pollen takes place from anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower of the same plant. Okay, so plant is same. Therefore, although there is cross pollination cross pollination, but there is genetic similarity in this case. Okay, genetic similarity, because the plant is same. Therefore, option A will be the correct answer. Question number 25 is from the chapter Plant Kingdom, and the question is, male gametophyte with least number of cells is present in. Options are Pteris, Funaria, Lilium and Pinus. So Pteris is an example of pteridophyta. Pteridophyta. Funaria is an example of bryophyta. Lilium is an example of angiosperm. And Pinus is an example of gymnosperm, right? Now, the male gametophyte with least number of cells are found in the angiosperms, okay? Because in case of angiosperms, the male gametophyte is highly reduced. Male gametophyte is highly reduced. Okay, in the angiosperm, and it is known as pollen pollen grain. And these male gametophyte, that is pollen grain, are usually 2 or 3 celled, which is minimum out of the all types of plants. Okay, so option C, Lilium, will be the correct answer. Question number 26 is from the chapter Sexual Reproduction in Flowering Plants, and the question is, an aggregate fruit is one which is developed from. Options are multicarpellary Syncarpus gynoecium, multicarpellary Apocarpus gynoecium, complete inflorescence and multicarpellary superior ooty. So the correct answer will be option number B, because an aggregate fruit is the one which develops from the multicarpellary Apocarpus gynoecium. Okay, so option number B will be the correct answer. Question number 27 is again from the chapter Sexual Reproduction in Flowering Plants, and the question is, pollen tablets are available in the market for. Options are in vitro fertilization, breeding programs, supplementing food and ex situ conservation. So it is very simple. We know that the pollens are very rich in nutrients. Okay, these are nutrient rich. Therefore, in recent years, it has become a fashion to use pollen tablets as food supplements. Okay, so the answer will be option number C. They are available in the market for supplementing food. Okay. So this is another question from the chapter Sexual Reproduction in Flowering Plants, and the question is, function of filiform apparatus is to. Options are recognize the suitable pollen at stigma, stimulate division of generative cell, produce nectar and guide the entry of pollen tube. So the correct answer will be option number D. Okay, filiform apparatus is present in the synergids, right? Present in synergids, and it plays an important role in guiding the pollen tube into the synergids. Okay, so into the synergids. Therefore, option number D will be the correct answer. Question number 29 is from the chapter Sexual Reproduction in Flowering Plants again, and the question is, non-albuminous seed is produced in. Options are maize, castor, wheat and pea. So we know that the non-albuminous seeds means there will be no endosperm. Okay, no endosperm. What is albuminous seed? Albuminous seeds are the seeds that retain or regenerate a portion of the endosperm. Okay, so they retain a portion of endosperm, and we know that endosperms predominate in the monocots. Okay, monocots. So albuminous seeds are found in monocots, for example castor, maize, wheat, coconut, etc. Whereas non-endosperm or the non-albuminous seeds are found in the dicot plants. Okay, So here you can see that maize, castor and wheat are example of monocots. So here monocots. So here the albuminous seeds would be found, whereas pea is an example of dicot. So here non-albuminous seed is produced. So option D will be the correct answer. Question number 30 is from the chapter Biological Classification, and the question is, which of the following shows coiled RNA strand and capsomeres? Options are poliovirus, tobacco mosaic virus, measles virus and retrovirus. Okay. So the correct answer is option B, that is tobacco mosaic virus. Okay. So the genetic material in the tobacco mosaic virus is a single stranded RNA molecule. Okay. Single stranded RNA molecule. Okay, and the virus has a rod shaped appearance. The virus has rod shaped appearance. The virus, that is tobacco mosaic virus, has an outer covering of protein. Okay, outer protein layer, we can say protein layer, that is known as capsid, and this capsid protects the nucleic acid. Okay, it protects the nucleic acid, that is the RNA molecule, and the capsid is made up of, it is made up of 2130 capsomeres, right? Therefore the correct answer is option number B, tobacco mosaic virus. Question number 31 is from the chapter Molecular Basis of Inheritance, and the question is, which one of the following is wrongly matched? So the first one is transcription, and it is matched with writing information from DNA to RNA. So it should not be writing. Transcription is basically copying the genetic information. Okay, it is the process of copying the genetic information from one strand of DNA to RNA. Okay, from one strand of DNA into RNA. So this is wrong match. Okay, writing is not a correct word. Then the second one is translation, and it is matched with using information in the mRNA to make protein. This is absolutely correct. Third one is repressor protein. It binds to operator to stop the enzyme synthesis. This is also correct. And the last one is operon. So it has structural genes, operator and promoter. This is also correct. So the only wrong match is the first one. So option A will be the correct answer. Question number 32 is again from the chapter Molecular Basis of Inheritance, and the question is, transformation was discovered by, options are Michelson and Starr, Hershey and Chase, Griffith and Watson and Crick. So what is transformation? It is one of the processes of transferring the genetic material through the cell membrane in the form of naked DNA. Okay, so let's write it down here. Transferring the genetic material through the cell membrane in the form of naked DNA between the microbial cells. And this process results in the genetic alteration. Okay, so transformation results in genetic alteration. It can also be defined as the insertion of new genetic material into the bacterial cells. So the experiment for the transformation was performed by the British bacteriologist named Frederick Griffith. Okay, Frederick Griffith in the year 1928. Okay, and he used which bacterium for the experiment? He used the Streptococcus pneumoniae cells, okay, or the pneumococcal cells. Pneumococcal cells. Okay, so the correct answer will be option number C, Griffith. Okay, full name is Frederick Griffith. Question number 33 is from the chapter Principles of Inheritance and Variation, and the question is fruit color in squash is an example of. Options are recessive epistasis, dominant epistasis, complementary genes, and inhibitory genes. Okay, so what happens in a squash flower? There are three possible colors. First one is yellow, for which we use capital Y. Second is green, for which we use small y, and the third is white, for which we use W. Okay, so as you can see, yellow is the dominant one. Okay, so capital Y is the dominant allele, and small y is the recessive one. So if capital Y and small y will be present, then definitely capital Y will be able to express itself over the small y, that is green. Okay, so yellow and green both genes are present, then yellow will be able to express itself. But if these three genes are present, then white is able to express itself over yellow as well as green. Okay, so the white color, the W gene masks the effect of capital Y as well as small y. Okay, that means mask the effect of non-allelic genes. Non-allelic genes, both dominant as well as recessive. Okay, the effect of both the dominant as well as recessive are masked by the white color. Okay, the W gene, and this condition is known as dominant epistasis. Dominant epistasis. So what happens in dominant epistasis? The effect of the non-allelic genes are suppressed. Okay, so the resultant ratio, the hybrid ratio becomes 12 white is to 3 yellow, capital Y, is to 1 green, that is small y. Okay, so which will be the correct answer? Option number B, dominant epistasis, will be the correct answer. Question number 34 is from the chapter Biological Classification, and the question is viruses have, options are DNA enclosed in a protein coat, prokaryotic nucleus, single chromosome, and both DNA and RNA. So viruses are basically nucleoprotein, right? Nucleoprotein. That means they contain nucleic acid, that is the genetic material, and it can either be an RNA or a DNA. Okay, they don't have both, they can have only one, either DNA or RNA. Okay, and nucleic acid plus they also have protein coat, therefore they are known as nucleoprotein. Okay, so they have DNA enclosed in a protein coat. Option A will be the correct answer. If it would be RNA, then also it would be the correct answer. Okay, because they can have DNA or RNA. So option A will be the correct answer. Question number 35 is from the chapter Biotechnology and its Applications, and the question is the first human hormone produced by recombinant DNA technology is, options are insulin, estrogen, thyroxine and progesterone. So the correct answer is option A, that is insulin. Okay, so it was prepared in the year 1983 by an American company, Eli Lilly. Okay, so Eli Lilly is the name of an American company. So what did they do? The company prepared two DNA sequences. Okay, two DNA sequences corresponding to the two chains, chain A and chain B. Okay, corresponding to chain A and B. Okay, so these are the chains of human insulin. Chains of human insulin. So these chains are not prepared directly. First, the DNA sequences are prepared corresponding to these two chains. Okay. Then these DNA sequences were introduced into the plasmids of E. coli. Plasmids of E. coli to produce the chains. Okay. Then chain A and chain B were produced separately. Chain A and chain B were produced separately. Produced separately. Then these two chains were combined by creating the disulfide bonds. Combined by creating disulfide, that is sulfur-sulfur double bond, right? To form the human insulin. Because we know in human insulin there are two chains, chain A and chain B, which are connected by the disulfide bridges. Okay, like this. So option A will be the correct answer. Question number 36 is from the chapter Molecular Basis of Inheritance, and the question is an analysis of chromosomal DNA using Southern hybridization technique does not use. Options are electrophoresis, blotting, autoradiography and PCR. So what is Southern hybridization? It is a method which is used for the detection and quantification of DNA sequences. Okay, detection and quantification of a specific DNA sequence in DNA samples. So here electrophoresis, blotting and autoradiography, all these three are the parts of Southern hybridization technique, but PCR is not involved in this technique. Okay, PCR is used only for the amplification of DNA. Amplification of DNA. And it is not a part of Southern blot hybridization technique. So option D will be the correct answer. Now question number 37 is related to biotechnology, and the question is in vitro clonal propagation in plants is characterized by option A PCR and RAPD, option B Nathan blotting, option C electrophoresis and HPLC, and option D microscopy. So nowadays in vitro clonal propagation in plants is characterized by PCR and RAPD. Okay, these two techniques are being used these days. So PCR, as we know, stands for the polymerase chain reaction. Polymerase chain reaction, and RAPD stands for randomly amplified polymorphic DNA. Polymorphic DNA. Now these two techniques are used to detect the variations among and within the species, detection among and within the species, and clones of a plant. Clones of a plant. In addition, this RAPD is also used to evaluate the genetic stability. Okay, evaluate the genetic stability of the micropropagated plants. Okay, of micropropagated. So the correct option will be option number A. Question number 38 is from the chapter Plant Kingdom, and the question is an alga which can be employed as food for human beings. Options are Eulothrix, Chlorella, Spirogyra and Polysiponia. So the correct answer is option B, that is Chlorella. As we know that it is a green alga. Green alga, that means it belongs to chlorophyceae, right? And since it is rich in proteins, proteins. Therefore, it is used as food supplements even by the space travelers. Okay, used as food supplement even by the space travelers. So option B is the correct answer. Question number 39 is from the chapter Biotechnology Principles and Processes, and the question is, which vector can clone only a small fragment of DNA? Options are bacterial artificial chromosome, that is BAC, then yeast artificial chromosome, that is YAC, then plasmid, and the last one is cosmid. Okay, so all these are vectors, that means they can clone the fragment of DNA, but there is variation in the size limit of the DNA fragment that they can clone. Okay, for example, if we talk about the bacterial artificial chromosome, so they are able to clone 300 to 350 kbp, that means kilo base pairs. Okay, then yeast artificial chromosome is able to clone 1 mbp, that is mega base pair, or we can say 1000 kbp to 2500 kbp. Okay, then the plasmid vector can clone about 10 kbp size DNA. Okay, and the last one is cosmid, so it can clone up to 45 kbp size of the DNA fragment, right? So which one is the smallest? This is 10 kbp size. Okay, that means the plasmid vector can clone only the small fragment of DNA. Okay, it can clone the smallest fragment of DNA among all the other options. Okay, so option C, plasmid, will be the correct answer. Question number 40 is from the chapter Biodiversity and Conservation, and the question is, an example of ex-situ conservation is, options are national park, seed bank, wildlife sanctuary and sacred grove. So we know that in case of ex-situ conservation, the conservation of an organism is done outside the natural habitat. Okay, outside the natural habitat or the environment of the organism. Okay, so here in the given options, national park, wildlife sanctuary and sacred groves are example of in situ conservation, because these are the natural habitat of the organisms. But in seed bank, these seed banks are located outside the natural habitat where suitable conditions are maintained. Okay, suitable conditions are maintained for the conservation of seed specimens of different plant species. Okay, therefore option B, that is seed bank, is the example of ex situ conservation. Option B will be the correct answer. Question number 41 is from the chapter Environmental Issues, and the question is, a location with luxuriant growth of lichens on the trees indicates that the, option A, trees are very healthy, option B, trees are heavily infested, option C, location is highly polluted, and option D, location is not polluted. Okay, so we know that lichens are very good pollution indicator. They are pollution indicators because they do not grow in the polluted areas. They do not grow in the polluted areas. So if there is a luxuriant growth of lichens in a location, that means the location is not at all polluted. Okay, so option D will be the correct answer. Question number 42 is from the chapter Ecosystem, and the question is, match the following and select the correct option. Okay, so the first one is earthworm. Now we know that earthworm is a detrivore. That means it breaks down the detritus into smaller particles. Okay, it breaks down the detritus into smaller particles. So the correct match for A will be number 2. Then the second one is succession. Now we know that succession starts from a bare area. Okay, succession starts from the bare area, and the first species that invade the bare area is known as pioneer species. Okay, so succession is directly related to the pioneer species. That means B will be matched with number 1. Then C, that is ecosystem service, will be matched with pollination, because pollination is an ecosystem service that the pollinating agents offer or provide. Okay, so C will be matched with number 4. And the last one is population growth, so it will be matched with natality. Natality means birth rate. Birth rate, and birth rate is related to increase in population, whereas death rate is related to the decrease in population. Okay, so here birth rate, that is natality, will lead to population growth, so D will be matched with number 3. So according to this, the correct answer will be option number D. Okay. Question number 43 is from the chapter Biodiversity and Conservation, and the question is, a species facing extremely high risk of extinction in the immediate future is called. Options are vulnerable, endemic, critically endangered, and extinct. So extinct cannot be the correct answer, because these are the species that do not exist anymore. Okay, these are already extinct. Now endemic means the species that are unique to a particular geographical area. Okay, unique to a particular geographical area. Now out of vulnerable and critically endangered, see, both of them are facing risk of extinction, but the risk is more in case of critically endangered as compared to the vulnerable. Okay, so the higher risk will be in case of critically endangered, so option C will be the correct answer. Question number 44 is from the chapter Environmental Issues, and the question is, the zone of atmosphere in which the ozone layer is. Options are ionosphere, mesosphere, stratosphere, and troposphere. Okay, so we know that ozone is of two types, good ozone and bad ozone, right? Now the good ozone is found in the stratosphere, whereas bad ozone is found in the troposphere. But if the specific type of ozone is not mentioned, then we have to assume that we are talking about the good ozone. Okay, so good ozone is found in the stratosphere, which acts as a shield to protect us from the harmful radiation of the sun. Okay, harmful UV radiations. So option number C, stratosphere, will be the correct answer. Question number 45 is from the chapter Biodiversity and Conservation, and the question is, the organization which published the red list of species is. Option A, ICFRE, option B, IUCN, option C, UNEP, and option D, WWF. Okay, so the red list of species, which is also known as red data list, was founded in the year 1964, and it is published by the IUCN. Okay, IUCN, that means International Union for Conservation of Nature, right? And it is the world's most comprehensive inventory of the global conservation status of biological species. Okay, so the correct answer will be option number B, IUCN. Question number 46 is from the chapter Animal Kingdom, and the question is, select the taxon mentioned that represents both marine and freshwater species. Options are echinoderms, ctenophora, cephalochordata, and cnidaria. So we know that echinoderms, ctenophora, and cephalochordata, these are exclusively marine animals. Okay, exclusively marine animals, whereas cnidarians can be marine or freshwater. Okay, marine or freshwater. Both. Therefore, option number D will be the correct answer. Question number 47 is again from the chapter Animal Kingdom, and the question is, which one of the following living organisms completely lacks a cell wall? Options are cyanobacteria, sea fan or gorgonia, Saccharomyces and blue-green algae. Okay, so we know that the cell wall can be present in bacteria, then fungi, algae and higher plants. Okay, but not in animals. So here cyanobacteria is an example of algae. Blue-green algae is also a type of cyanobacteria. Then Saccharomyces is a fungi, that is yeast. Whereas sea fan, that is gorgonia, is an example of animal, right? And animals lack cell wall, they do not have cell wall. So option B will be the correct answer. Question number 48 is from the chapter Animal Kingdom again, and the question is, planaria possess high capacity of. Options are metamorphosis, regeneration, alternation of generation and bioluminescence. So planaria belongs to which phylum? Platyhelminthes. Platyhelminthes, and it possesses high capacity of regeneration. Okay, and metamorphosis is mainly exhibited by the arthropoda, alternation of generation by the cnidarians, and bioluminescence is shown by the ctenophora. So according to the question, the correct answer is option number B, regeneration. Question number 49 is also from the chapter Animal Kingdom, and the question is, a marine cartilaginous fish that can produce electric current is. Options are Pristis, Torpedo, Trigon and Scoliodon. So the correct answer will be option number B, that is torpedo. Okay, it is also known as electric ray, and it can produce the electric current. Okay, Pristis is known as sawfish, Trigon is known as stingray, and Scoliodon is known as dogfish. Okay, so the correct answer is option number B, torpedo. Question number 50 is from the chapter Structural Organization in Animals, and the question is, choose the correctly matched pair. Option A, tendon is matched with specialized connective tissue, which is an incorrect match because tendon is an example of fibrous connective tissue. Okay, fibrous connective tissue. Which attaches muscles to the bones. Okay, muscle to bone. Then in the second one, adipose tissue is matched with dense connective tissue, which is again an incorrect match because adipose tissue is an example of loose connective tissue. Loose connective tissue. So this category of connective tissue, that is loose connective tissue, includes the adipose tissue, then areolar tissue, and the third type is reticular tissue. Okay. Then in the third one, areolar tissue is matched with loose connective tissue. So right now we discussed that loose connective tissue includes areolar tissue as well. Okay, so this is a correct match. And the last one, cartilage is matched with loose connective tissue. So loose connective tissue does not include cartilage. Okay, cartilage is a skeletal connective tissue. Skeletal connective tissue. Connective tissue that is found in the joints. In the joints between the bones, rib cage, ear, nose, etc. Okay, so the correct answer is option number C. Question number 51 is again from the chapter Structural Organization in Animals, and the question is, choose the correctly matched pair. So in the first one, inner lining of salivary duct is matched with ciliated epithelium, which is an incorrect match because in the inner lining of the salivary duct has cuboidal epithelium. Okay, cuboidal epithelium, not ciliated epithelium, right? Then the second one is moist surface of the buccal cavity, and it is matched with glandular epithelium. So this is also incorrect because the moist surface of buccal cavity has stratified non-keratinized squamous epithelium. Okay, non-keratinized squamous epithelium. Then the third one is tubular parts of nephrons, and it is matched with cuboidal epithelium. Yes, this is a correct match. Okay. Then the last one is inner surface of bronchioles, and it is matched with squamous epithelium, which is incorrect because the inner surface of the bronchioles have ciliated epithelium. Okay, ciliated epithelium, not squamous epithelium. So the only correctly matched pair is the third one. So option C will be the correct answer. Question number 52 is from the chapter Cell Cycle and Cell Division, and the question is, in S phase of the cell cycle, option A, the amount of DNA doubles in each cell, option B, amount of DNA remains same in each cell, option C, chromosome number is increased, and option D, amount of DNA is reduced to half in each cell. Okay, so we know that the S phase means synthesis phase, okay, and it marks the period where DNA synthesis takes place. That means DNA replication takes place, okay. So what happens during this time? The amount of DNA per cell doubles. Amount of DNA doubles in each cell, whereas the chromosome number remains same. Chromosome number remains same. So the correct answer is option number A. Question number 53 is from the chapter Biological Classification, and the question is, the motile bacteria are able to move by. Options are Fimbriae, Flagella, Cilia and Piney. So the correct answer is option B, that is Flagella. Okay. So the motile bacteria, as we know, have thin filamentous extensions from the cell wall, that is known as flagella. Okay. So this is the thin filamentous extension from the cell wall of the bacteria, and this is known as flagella. So option B will be the correct answer. Question number 54 is from the chapter Biomolecules, and the question is, select the option which is not correct with respect to enzyme action. So the first statement says substrate binds with enzyme at its active site, which is a correct statement. Then the second statement says addition of a lot of succinate does not reverse the inhibition of succinic dehydrogenase by malonate. So the inhibition of succinic dehydrogenase by malonate is an example of competitive inhibition. Okay, competitive inhibition, and it is a reversible process or reversible reaction. That means on increasing the substrate concentration, that is succinate concentration, the effect of inhibitor is removed and Vmax remains same. Okay, so this is incorrect statement. That means it will reverse the inhibition, but here it is written that it does not reverse the inhibition. Okay, now the third statement says a non-competitive inhibitor binds the enzyme at a site distinct from that which binds the substrate. So this is also correct. Okay, in a competitive inhibitor it binds to the same site, but in a non-competitive inhibitor it binds at the different site. Okay, then the last statement says malonate is a competitive inhibitor of succinic dehydrogenase that we discussed. This is related to the second statement. So this is also correct statement. Only incorrect one is the second one. So option B will be the correct answer. Question number 55 is again from the chapter Biomolecules, and the question is, which one of the following is a non-reducing carbohydrate? Options are maltose, sucrose, lactose and ribose 5-phosphate. So what is a non-reducing carbohydrate? See, we know that in case of reducing carbohydrate, the carbohydrate or the sugar can act as the reducing agent because of the presence of free aldehyde or ketone group. Okay, that means free functional group is available. pre-functional group is available, whereas in case of non-reducing carbohydrate, pre-functional group is not available. Okay, pre-functional group is not available. Now in the given options, maltose, lactose and ribose 5-phosphates are example of reducing sugars, whereas sucrose is an example of non-reducing sugar or the non-reducing carbohydrate. So option B will be the correct answer. Question number 56 is from the chapter Cell Cycle and Cell Division, and the question is, the enzyme recombinase is required at which stage of meiosis? Options are pachytene, zygotene, diplotin and diakinesis. So we know that the enzyme recombinase is involved during the crossing over in the meiosis 1. Okay, so crossing over takes place at the pachytene stage, therefore option A, pachytene, will be the correct answer. Question number 57 is from the chapter Digestion and Absorption, and the question is, the initial step in the digestion of milk in human is carried out by, options are lipase, trypsin, rennin and pepsin. So the correct answer will be pepsin. The milk protein digesting enzyme in our stomach is pepsin. Okay, so it first acts on the water soluble milk protein, that is casinogen. Casinogen is a water soluble milk protein. Okay, so pepsin acts on it and converts it into casein, and then this casein combines with calcium salts to form insoluble calcium paracasinate. Okay, calcium paracasinate, so this is insoluble. Now this calcium paracasinate gets readily digested. Okay, readily digested enzymatically. So this way the pepsin works. Now don't confuse between pepsin and rennin, because rennin is the milk digesting protein in case of infants, not in adults. Also in calves. So when we are saying human, we are generally talking about the adults. Okay, so pepsin will be the correct answer, that is option D. Question number 58 is also from the chapter Digestion and Absorption, and the question is, fructose is absorbed into the blood through mucosa cells of intestine by the process called, options are active transport, facilitated transport, simple diffusion and co-transport mechanism. Okay, so we know that fructose is absorbed with the help of carrier ions such as sodium ion. Okay, so fructose is absorbed with the help of carrier ions. For example, sodium ion. Okay, so when a carrier ion is involved in the transport of any substance, then this type of transport is known as facilitated transport. Because this transport is facilitated by the carriers. Okay, so option number B will be the correct answer. Question number 59 is from the chapter Body Fluids and Circulation, and the question is, approximately 70% of carbon dioxide absorbed by the blood will be transported to the lungs. Option A as bicarbonate ions, option B in the form of dissolved gas molecules, option C by binding to RBC, and option D as carbaminohemoglobin. Okay, so the correct answer will be option A, that is as bicarbonate ions. Okay, so out of all the carbon dioxide that is absorbed by the blood, 70% is transported as bicarbonate ions, as we have discussed, and nearly 20 to 25% of carbon dioxide is transported by the RBCs, and 7% approximately is transported as the dissolved state, in the dissolved state. Okay, dissolved state in the plasma. So the correct answer according to this question is option number A, as bicarbonate ions. Question number 60 is again from the chapter Body Fluids and Circulation, and the question is, person with blood group AB is considered as universal recipient because he has option A, both A and B antigens on RBC but no antibodies in the plasma. Option B, both A and B antibodies in the plasma. Option C, no antigen on RBC and no antibody in the plasma. And option D, both A and B antigens in the plasma but no antibodies. So the correct answer will be option number A, that it has both A and B antigens on the RBC but no antibodies in the plasma. Okay, so since there are no antibodies, that means it will not act against any of the blood groups that is given. Okay, so it acts as the universal recipient. It can take or accept blood from any blood group. Okay, so option A will be the correct answer. Question number 61 is from the chapter Body Fluid and Circulation, and the question is, how do parasympathetic neural signals affect the working of the heart? Option A, reduce both heart rate and cardiac output. Option B, heart rate is increased without affecting the cardiac output. Option C, both heart rate and cardiac output increase. And option D, heart rate decreases but cardiac output increases. Okay, so we know that the parasympathetic nervous system has postganglionic fibers, right? Postganglionic fibers. Now these postganglionic fibers of the parasympathetic nervous system secrete acetylcholine. Acetylcholine. And this acetylcholine in turn decreases the heart rate as well as cardiac output. Okay, so the correct option will be option number A. It reduces both heart rate and cardiac output. Okay, option A will be the correct answer. Question number 62 is from the chapter Excretory Products and Their Elimination, and the question is, which of the following causes an increase in sodium reabsorption in the distal convoluted tubule? Option A, increase in aldosterone levels. Option B, decrease in antidiuretic hormone levels. Option C, decrease in aldosterone levels. And option D, decrease in antidiuretic hormone levels. So the correct answer will be option number A, that increase in aldosterone level causes an increase in sodium reabsorption in the DCT. Okay, so the increase in aldosterone level stimulates sodium ion reabsorption and water reabsorption as well. Okay, in the DCT, that is distal convoluted tubule. So option A will be the correct answer. Question number 63 is from the chapter Locomotion and Movement, and the question is, select the correct matching of the types of the joint with the examples in human skeletal system. So the first type of joint is cartilaginous joint, and the example is between frontal and parietal. Okay, so this is an incorrect match. Which type of joint is found between frontal and parietal? It is the fibrous joint. Okay, fibrous joint. Because we know that in the bones of skulls, fibrous joints are found. Okay, and these are the bones of skull. Now the second type of joint is pivot joint, and the example is between third and fourth cervical vertebra. So what type of joint is found between the vertebrae? It is cartilaginous joint, not pivot joint. Okay, cartilaginous joint is found between the adjacent vertebra. Okay, between adjacent vertebra. So this is also an incorrect match. Then the third one is hinge joint or hinge joint, and the example is between humerus and pectoral girdle. So the joint that is found between humerus and pectoral girdle is the ball and socket joint. Okay, ball and socket joint, which is an example of synovial joint. Okay, so there is a considerable movement in synovial type of joint. So ball and socket is one of them, which is found between humerus and pectoral girdle. So this is also incorrect match. And the last type of joint is gliding joint, and the example is between carpals. So this is a correct match. Okay, so the type of joint that is found between the carpals is the gliding joint, which is again a type of synovial joint. That means offering considerable movement. Okay, so the only correct match is the last one. So 4, that means option number D will be the correct answer. Question number 64 is again from the chapter Locomotion and Movement, and the question is stimulation of a muscle fiber by a motor neuron occurs at, options are the neuromuscular junction, the transverse tubules, the myofibril and the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So the correct answer will be the neuromuscular junction. Okay, so it refers to the junction between the motor neuron and the sarcolemma of the muscle fiber. Okay, sarcolemma of the muscle fiber. Now, what happens when a neural signal reaches this junction? Neural signal reaches the neuromuscular junction. Neuromuscular junction. Here, it releases a neurotransmitter that is acetylcholine. Okay, acetylcholine. And this acetylcholine stimulates the muscle fiber by generating an action potential. Okay, so the acetylcholine generates an action potential due to which the muscle fiber gets stimulated. Okay, so muscle fiber gets stimulated. So we can say that the stimulation of muscle fiber by a motor neuron occurs at the neuromuscular junction. So option A will be the correct answer. Question number 65 is again from the chapter Neural Control and Coordination, and the question is injury localized to the hypothalamus would most likely disrupt. Option A, short-term memory. Option B, coordination during locomotion. Option C, executive functions such as decision making, and option D, regulation of body temperature. So we know that the primary function of the hypothalamus is homeostasis. Okay, homeostasis. That is to maintain the body's normal temperature. Okay, the body's normal temperature and the body's status. Therefore, if there is an injury in the hypothalamus, then the thermoregulatory center will be disturbed, resulting in the deregulation of the body temperature. So option D will be the correct answer. Now this is another question from the chapter Neural Control and Coordination, and the question is which one of the following statements is not correct? Okay, so we have to find out the incorrect statement. The first statement says retinal is the light absorbing portion of visual photopigments. So this is a correct statement. Okay, then the second statement says in retina the rods have the photopigments rhodopsin while the cones have 3 different photopigments. So this is also a correct statement. Then the third statement says retinal is a derivative of vitamin C, which is an incorrect statement. Okay, because we know that the retinal is an aldehyde of vitamin A. Okay, it is a derivative of vitamin A. And what is the retinal exactly? It is an aldehyde. Okay, so let's come to the last statement. It says rhodopsin is the purplish red protein present in rods only. Okay, so this is also correct. That is why the name rhodopsin. So the only incorrect statement is the third one. So option C will be the correct answer. Question number 67 is from the chapter Chemical Coordination and Integration, and the question is identify the hormone with its correct matching of source and function. So the first hormone is oxytocin. Its source is posterior pituitary and the function is growth and maintenance of mammary gland. So oxytocin is actually produced by the hypothalamus, but it is stored in the posterior pituitary and released by the posterior pituitary. Okay. The function is not the growth or and maintenance of mammary glands. Okay, this is not the correct function of oxytocin. The correct function is uterine contraction. Uterine contraction during the parturition. Okay. Then the second hormone is melatonin. Its source is pineal gland and the function is that it regulates the normal rhythm of sleep-wake cycle. So both the source and functions of melatonin are correctly matched. So this is a correct match. Okay. Then the third one is progesterone. The source is corpus luteum. So this is correct source of progesterone. The function is stimulation of growth and activities of female secondary sex organs. So the function is not correct. Okay, what is the function of progesterone? The function is the menstrual cycle. Menstrual cycle. So the role of progesterone comes into effect during the menstrual cycle, then pregnancy and embryogenesis. Embryogenesis. But which hormone is responsible for the activities of female secondary sex organs? So it is estrogen. Estrogen, not progesterone. Okay. So this is also an incorrect match. And the last one is arterial natriuretic factor. And it is matched with ventricular wall. The source is ventricular wall and the function is that it increases the blood pressure. So we know that the arterial natriuretic factor, as the name suggests, it is released from the arterial wall. Okay, arterial wall. It is clear from the name only. It is not ventricular wall. Also, arterial natriuretic factor, that is ANF, it acts as a powerful vasodilator. Vasodilator. Therefore, it decreases the blood pressure. Decreases the blood pressure, not increases the blood pressure. So both the source and functions are incorrectly matched. So this is also wrong. So the only correct match is the second one. Okay, so option B will be the correct answer. Question number 68 is again from the chapter Chemical Coordination and Integration, and the question is, fight or flight reaction causes activation of option A, the parathyroid glands leading to increased metabolic rate, option B, the kidney leading to suppression of renin angiotensin aldosterone pathway, option C, the adrenal medulla leading to increased secretion of epinephrine and norepinephrine, and option D, the pancreas leading to a reduction in the blood sugar levels. Okay, so the correct answer is option C, the adrenal medulla. Okay, so fight or flight reaction causes activation of the adrenal medulla leading to the increased secretion of the emergency hormones, that is epinephrine and norepinephrine. Okay, so option C is the correct answer. Question number 69 is from the chapter Human Reproduction, and the question is, the shared terminal duct of the reproductive and urinary system in the human male is, options are urethra, ureter, vas deferens and vasa efferentia. Okay, so the correct answer is option A, that is urethra. Okay, urethra is the urogenital tract. Urogenital tract in the human male that carries both urine and sperm. Okay, therefore option A is the correct answer. Question number 70 is from the chapter Human Reproduction, and the question is, the main function of mammalian corpus luteum is to produce, options are estrogen only, progesterone, human chorionic gonadotrophin and relaxin only. Okay, so the corpus luteum secretes the steroidal hormone. Okay, it secretes the steroidal hormones, that is estrogen and progesterone. Okay, estrogen and progesterone. Now both are mentioned in the options, but with estrogen only word is used, okay, which is not correct because only estrogen is not produced. Estrogen and progesterone both are produced. So option B, progesterone, will be the correct answer. Okay. Question number 71 is also from the chapter Human Reproduction, and the question is, select the correct option describing gonadotrophin activity in a normal pregnant female. Option A, high level of FSH and LH stimulates the thickening of the endometrium. Option B, high level of FSH and LH facilitate implantation of the embryo. Option C, high level of human chorionic gonadotrophin stimulates the synthesis of estrogen and progesterone. And option D, high level of human chorionic gonadotrophin stimulates the thickening of endometrium. So the correct answer will be option number C. Okay. So the human chorionic gonadotrophin basically maintains the corpus luteum. Okay. It maintains the corpus luteum. And we have discussed in the previous question that the corpus luteum is responsible for the synthesis and release of estrogen and progesterone. Therefore, we can say that the human chorionic gonadotrophin stimulates the synthesis of estrogen and progesterone. So, option C will be the correct answer. Question number 72 is from the chapter Reproductive Health, and the question is, tubectomy is method of sterilization in which option A, small part of the fallopian tube is removed or tied up. Option B, ovaries are removed surgically. Option C, small part of vas deferens is removed or tied up. And option D, uterus is removed surgically. Okay, so the correct answer will be option number A. This is the simple definition of the tubectomy. Tubectomy because it involves the removal of the tube, that is the fallopian tube. Okay, so the fallopian tube, the part of the tube is cut and tied up in case of tubectomy, and it is one of the permanent method of contraception in females. Okay, permanent method of contraception in females. Okay, if we talk about the permanent method of contraception in males, then it will be vasectomy. Okay, vasectomy, that is mentioned in the third option. Small part of vas deferens is removed or tied up. Okay, so according to the question, the correct answer will be option number A. Question number 73 is again from the chapter Human Reproduction, and the question is, which of the following is a hormone releasing intrauterine device? Option A, multiload 375. Option B, LNG20. Option C, cervical cap. And option D, Volt. So multiload 375 is a copper releasing IUD. Okay, not hormone releasing. And cervical cap and Volt, these two are the mechanical barriers. Mechanical barriers which prevent the entry of the sperm into the vagina. Okay, and LNG20 is the hormone releasing IUD. Hormone releasing IUD, and in fact this is the most widely used and ideal contraceptives for females. Okay, and if we talk about the function of the LNG20, so it basically makes the cervix hostile to the sperm, and also makes the uterus unsuitable for the implantation. Okay, uterus unsuitable for implantation. Therefore, the correct answer will be option number B, LNG20. Question number 74 is from the chapter Reproductive Health, and the question is, assisted reproductive technology IVF involves transfer of option A, ovum into the fallopian tube, option B, zygote into the fallopian tube, option C, zygote into the uterus, and option D, embryo with 16 blastomeres into the fallopian tube. Okay, so the correct answer will be zygote into the fallopian tube. Okay, so what happens in case of IVF, that is in vitro fertilization, the zygote or the embryo up to 8 celled stage is transferred into the fallopian tube. Okay, into the fallopian tube. Therefore, option B is the correct answer. Question number 75 is from the chapter Principles of Inheritance and Variation, and the question is, a man whose father was colorblind marries a woman who had a colorblind mother and normal father. What percentage of male children of this couple will be colorblind? Okay, so first of all we should know that the color blindness is an X-linked recessive disorder. Okay, X-linked recessive disorder. Now in male there is one X chromosome and one Y chromosome. So since there is only one X chromosome in males, then this X chromosome, if it carries the gene for color blindness, then this male will be affected or the color blind. Okay, this male will be color blind if this X chromosome will carry the gene for color blindness. Okay, but in case of female, she will be color blind or affected only if both the X chromosomes will carry the gene for color blindness. Okay, if there is only one X chromosome that carries the gene for color blindness, then she will be the carrier. Okay, so in the first case she will be affected, that means color blind. In the second case she will just be the carrier of the gene and not the affected one. Got it? Now according to this question, there is a man whose father was colorblind. Okay, whose father was colorblind, that means his X chromosome carried the gene for color blindness, but this man would have got only Y chromosome from the father. Okay, not the X chromosome. He had got the X chromosome from the mother and Y from father. That means the color blindness of his father will not affect him. Okay, he has not got the X chromosome, so this man will be normal. That means his genotype will be XY. Okay, now if we talk about the woman, so this man marries a woman who had a colorblind mother and normal father. Okay, so the mother of this woman was colorblind. That means both the X chromosome of the mother carried the gene for color blindness and the father was normal. Okay, her father was normal. That means XY. Now since the woman is a female, so she would get one X chromosome from each of them. One from mother and one from father. So obviously from the mother she will get an affected chromosome. Okay, that means the chromosome carrying the gene for color blindness, and from father she'll get a normal chromosome. Okay, so this is the genotype of the woman. Now let's see what type of progenies will these two produce. Okay, so the male has X and Y and the female has XC and X. Okay, so if we cross, we'll get XCX, that means one X chromosome is carrying the gene, then XCY, then XX, and then XY. Okay, so how many are males? These two are the males. Okay, because the question is asking that what percentage of male children of this couple will be colorblind. So male are these two, but one is unaffected. Okay, this is normal and the other is affected. Okay, so one out of two males is affected. That means 50% of the males will be colorblind. Okay, so option number C will be the correct answer. Question number 76 is from the chapter Evolution, and the question is, in a population of 1000 individuals, 360 belong to genotype A, 480 belong to A small a, and the remaining 162 small a small a. Based on this data, the frequency of allele A in the population is. Okay, so we know that according to the Hardy-Weinberg principle, Hardy-Weinberg principle, P square plus 2PQ plus Q square is equal to 1. Okay, where P square represents the frequency of homozygous dominant allele, that is A. Okay, 2PQ represents the frequency of the heterozygous allele, that is A small a, and Q square represents the frequency of homozygous recessive allele, that is a small a. Got it? Now here it is given that 360 out of 1000 belong to genotype A. That means P square is given as 360 out of 1000. So it can be written as 0.36. Similarly, Q square will be 160. Okay, 160 out of 1000. That is equal to 0.16. But here in this question, the frequency of allele capital A is asked. That means we have to focus on P square. Okay, capital A, capital A. So this is given as P square is given as 0.36. So what will be the value of P? This will be equal to under root 0.36, that is 0.6. Okay, so the frequency of allele capital A will be equal to 0.6, that is option C will be the correct answer. Question number 77 is from the chapter Principles of Inheritance and Variation. And the question is, a human female with Turner's syndrome. Option A has 45 chromosomes with XO. Option B has one additional X chromosome. Option C exhibits male characters. And option D is able to produce children with normal husband. So, what happens in Turner syndrome? It is caused due to the absence of one X chromosome. Okay, the absence of one X chromosome in females. Okay, so normally the females have two X chromosome, but if one X chromosome is absent, then it will result in the genotype XO. Okay, that means only one X chromosome will be there and one will be absent. Okay, so out of total 46 chromosomes, only 45 will be available. Okay, 44 autosomes plus one X chromosome. Okay, so total how many chromosomes? 45. Total chromosomes are 45. 44 autosomes and one X chromosome. So total 45. Therefore option A will be the correct answer. Has 45 chromosomes with XO type of genotype. Okay. So option A is the correct answer. Question number 78 is from the chapter Molecular Basis of Inheritance, and the question is, select the correct option. So in the first column we have direction of RNA synthesis. Now we know that the polymerization of RNA takes place only in one direction, that is 5' to 3'. So 3' to 5' will be incorrect. Only 5' to 3' direction will be correct. Okay. Now in the next column, direction of reading of the template DNA strand. So the direction of the template DNA strand will be just the opposite of the direction of RNA synthesis. Okay. That means opposite polarity. So if this is 5' to 3', this side it will be 3' to 5'. Okay. Therefore, the first one is the correct match. So option A will be the correct answer. Question number 79 is from the chapter Molecular Basis of Inheritance, and the question is, commonly used vectors for human genome sequencing are. Options are tDNA, BAC and YAC, expression vectors and TA cloning vectors. Okay. So the correct answer will be BAC and YAC, that is bacterial artificial chromosome, bacterial artificial chromosome and yeast artificial chromosome. Okay, that means BAC and YAC. These are commonly used vectors for human genome sequencing. Therefore, option B is the correct answer. Question number 80 is from the chapter Evolution, and the question is, four limbs of cat and lizard used in walking, four limbs of whale used in swimming, and four limbs of bats used in flying are an example of. Option A, analogous organs. Option B, adaptive radiation. Option C, homologous organs. And option D, convergent evolution. Okay, so as mentioned in the question, all the organs are the modification of four limbs only. Okay, these are the modified four limbs. That means they have the same structure. They have same structure, but they are adapted to perform different functions. Okay, different functions. And such type of organs are known as homologous organs. Homologous organs. Okay, so these type of organs have common ancestry or the common structure, but they are adapted to perform different function. So option C will be the correct answer. Question number 81 is again from the chapter Evolution, and the question is, which one of the following are analogous structures? Option A, Wings of bat and wings of pigeon. Option B, gills of prawn and lungs of man. Option C, thorns of bougainvillea and tendrils of cucurbita. And option D, flippers of dolphin and legs of horse. Okay. So in the previous question, we discussed about the homologous organs, right? Homologous organs. In that we saw that these organs have common ancestry. That means they have same structure, but different functions. Okay. Now, analogous structures are just the opposite of homologous structures. In analogous structures, the structure is different. They have different structure, but the function is same. Okay, same function. So in the first one, if we see wings of bat and wings of pigeon. Okay, so wings of bat. What is the main structure in the wings of bat? It is basically the skin folds. Okay, the wings of bats are skin folds which are stretched between the elongated fingers. And wings of pigeon, that means bird, these are the feather coverings all along the arm, all along the arm. So definitely the skin fold is entirely different from feather in case of structure. Okay, if we discuss about the structure, these are structurally different although they perform the same function. Therefore these are examples of analogous organs. So option A will be the correct answer. Question number 82 is from the chapter Human Health and Disease, and the question is, which is the particular type of drug that is obtained from the plants whose one flowering branch is shown below? So the plant that is illustrated in this diagram is Datura. Okay, Datura. And Datura has hallucinogenic properties. Hallucinogenic properties. Therefore, hallucinogen, that means option A will be the correct answer. Question number 83 is again from the chapter Human Health and Disease, and the question is, at which stage of HIV infection does one usually show symptoms of AIDS? Option A, within 15 days of sexual contact with an infected person. Option B, when the infected retrovirus enters the host cell. Option C, when HIV damages large number of helper T lymphocytes. And option D, when the viral DNA is produced by reverse transcriptase. Okay. So what happens in the HIV infection? The virus selectively destroys the helper T lymphocytes. Okay. So the virus, that is human immunodeficiency virus, selectively destroys the helper T lymphocytes. Helper T lymphocytes. And when a large number of helper T lymphocytes are destroyed, then it paralyzes the immune system. Okay. So paralyze the immune system. That means the immune system will not be able to protect the body from any external attack or the infection. Okay. So it will show various symptoms such as fever, persistent cough, night sweat, then problems affecting the skin, mouth, etc. Then chronic diarrhea and weight loss, etc. Okay, weight loss. And the reason is severely damaged immune system. Therefore, the correct answer will be option number C, when HIV damages large number of helper T lymphocytes. Question number 84 is from the chapter Strategies for Enhancement in Food Production, and the question is, to obtain virus-free healthy plants from a diseased one by the tissue culture technique, which part or parts of the diseased plant will be taken? Option A, apical meristem only. Option B, palisade parenchyma. Option C, both apical and axillary meristems. And option D, epidermis only. So what happens Even if the plant gets some viral infection, still the meristematic region of the plant remains free. Okay, so in case of an infection or viral infection, the meristem of the plant remains free, remains disease free. Okay, so this meristem is taken out from the plant, taken out and grown in vitro. Okay, grown in vitro to obtain a plant that is disease free, that is disease free or free from viruses. So which part is taken out? Meristem. Meristem means both axillary as well as apical meristem. Okay, overall meristem can be taken out. So option C will be the correct answer. Question number 85 is from the chapter Microbes in Human Welfare, and the question is, what gases are produced in anaerobic sludge digesters? Option A, methane and carbon dioxide. Option B, methane, hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide. Option C, methane, hydrogen sulfide and oxygen. And option D, hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide. Okay, so as it is clear from the word anaerobic, that means it involves breakdown of organic matter in the absence of oxygen. Okay, breakdown of organic matter in the absence of oxygen. Okay, now the anaerobic sludge digesters contain anaerobic microorganisms, mainly bacteria. Okay, anaerobic microorganisms, mainly bacteria, namely methanogen. Okay, and these anaerobic microorganisms carry out the microbial decomposition leading to the formation of or the production of biogas. Okay, production of biogas. Now this biogas contains 70% of the methane. Okay, contains 70% methane. In addition, it contains hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide as well. Okay, so the correct answer will be methane, hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide. That means option number B. Question number 86 is from the chapter Organisms and Population, and the question is, just as a person moving from Delhi to Shimla to escape the heat for the duration of hot summer, thousands of migratory birds from Siberia and other extremely cold northern regions move to option A, Western Ghat, option B, Meghalaya, option C, Corbett National Park, and option D, Colorado National Park. So this is a factual question. Okay, it is a well-known fact that every winter the Colorado National Park, that is located in Bharatpur, Rajasthan, hosts thousands of migratory birds from Siberia and other colder northern regions. Okay, so option D will be the correct answer. Question number 87 is from the chapter Ecosystem, and the question is, given below is a simplified model of phosphorus cycling in a terrestrial ecosystem with 4 blanks A to D. Identify the blanks. Okay, so we can see that there is an uptake of phosphate from the soil solution by C. Okay, and we know that animals cannot take up the minerals directly from the soil solution, but plants can. Okay, so C must be plants or producer. Okay, so producers or the plants can take up the minerals, especially we are talking about the phosphorus here, from the soil solution and convert it into organic compound that will get transferred to the consumers when they feed on the plants. Okay, now consumers can be herbivores as well as carnivores. So herbivores will feed directly on the plants, whereas carnivores will feed on herbivores. Okay, so this way organic compound will be transferred to them. Now when the consumers will die or when the plants will die, they will get converted into the dead organic matter, and that is known as detritus. Okay. So A represents the detritus. And here we have D. So D represents the litter fall. Litter fall. Okay. Now what is B? So here we have B, and from B also phosphorus is getting transferred to the soil solution. So we know that the rocks are the reservoir of the phosphorus. So minor amounts of phosphorus will get dissolved into the soil solution during the weathering process. Okay. So this represents the rock minerals. So we can conclude that A represents the detritus, then B represents the rock minerals, C represents the producer, and D represents the litter fall. That means falling of the leaves, dead leaves from the plants, okay, and other parts of the plants in order to get converted into the detritus. Okay, so third one is the correct match. So option C will be the correct answer. Question number 88 is from the chapter Animal Kingdom, and the question is, given below is the representation of the extent of global diversity of invertebrates. What groups of the four portions A to D represent respectively? Okay, so A is the largest one, so it will have insects. Okay, because insects belong to the phylum Arthropoda, which is the largest phylum. Okay, so out of all the options that are mentioned here, insects will be largest in number or the most diverse groups. So A represents the insects. Then second largest is B. So B represents the mollusca, which is the second largest phylum. Then the third number is C. Okay, so C will have the crustaceans, which also belong to the phylum Arthropoda. So these are the third largest group. Then D has other animal groups, okay, other animals. So according to this, the correct match will be A insect, the last one, okay, fourth one, A insect, then B mollusks, C crustaceans, and D other animal groups. So fourth one is the correct match. That means option D will be the correct answer. Question number 89 is from the chapter Environmental Issues, and the question is, a scrubber in the exhaust of a chemical industrial plant removes option A gases like sulfur dioxide, option B particulate matter of the size 5 micrometer or above, option C gases like ozone and methane, and option D particulate matter of the size 2.5 micrometer or less. Okay, so we know that a scrubber can remove gases like sulfur dioxide, in which the exhaust is passed through a spray of water or lime. Okay, so exhaust is passed through a spray of water or lime. Okay, so option A will be the correct answer. Now the last question is from the chapter Ecosystem, and the question is, if 20 joule of energy is trapped at producer level, then how much energy will be available to peacock as food in the following chain? So plant has how much energy? 20 joule. Now we know that only 10% of the energy is passed. Only 10% energy is passed from one trophic level to another when an organism feeds on the other. Okay. Now the mice feeds on plants, so only 10% of this 20 joule energy will be passed. That means 2 joule will be passed to mice. Then snake feeds on mice, so 10% of 2 joule, that means 0.2 joule will be passed to snake. And then peacock feeds on snake, so 10% of 0.2, that means 0.02 joule will be passed to the peacock. So how much energy is available to peacock as food? So 0.02 joule. That means option A will be the correct answer. Okay. So here we complete all the biology questions from NEET 2014 paper. We'll be back with another session soon. Till then, keep learning, keep scoring high. For a better understanding, I would suggest you to practice the same questions from our website www.examsnet.com. And for more information, download our app from the link given in the description box. Thank you so much.